y'all, Stormy here from Plant-Based Storm. Happy New Year. It's 2022. I have my top 5 tips that I wanted to share with y'all for weight loss. Since it is a brand new year, I know a lot of people start their health journey here at the beginning of the year. So I wanted to go ahead and share with y'all what my top 5 tips for helping me lose weight have been and continue to be. Originally, I lost about 80-ish pounds after my son was born, and it took me a couple years before I really figured out what worked for me. I was at my highest weight and I was very unhappy with the way things were going, so I finally figured out the things that would work for me, and they actually worked for me pretty quickly. I have a lot of videos previously talking about how I lost weight, and then how I lost my final weight of 80 pounds, which I was still not complete for losing weight at that time. But then I found out that I was going to be having my daughter, so I relaxed a little bit, enjoyed the pregnancy. I did gain back about 47-ish pounds whenever I was pregnant with her, because I was focused on having a healthy pregnancy and not so much about losing weight. I wanted to make sure that the baby was going to be okay and that the pregnancy was going to be able to support itself and get her here safely. So I was not super focused on weight management during that time. And I am now 3 months postpartum, and I have already lost 45 pounds. And this is just my experience that I'm sharing with y'all, so take this with a grain of salt if you want to. It is not in any way, shape, or form what I'm telling you I think that you should do, or it's not any kind of medical advice, but I did want to share with you what has worked for me in case that it might help somebody else out there that is looking to make some positive, healthy changes here in the new year. So let's just go ahead and jump right into my top 5 tips that have helped me lose weight, and is going to continue to help me lose weight throughout 2022 and hopefully be at the goal weight this year. And I actually don't technically have a goal weight. I'm actually trying to go for healthy, but I'm still pretty far away from where I need to be. I'm doing it here on my channel, and I'm really excited about sharing this journey. So these tips, I'm going to do a countdown from 5 to 1, and 1, you want to stick around for that because it is the best tip that I have and the thing that has helped me the absolute most, so you don't want to miss it. Number 5 is to meal plan and meal prep. Now, you don't always have to be perfect at this, but I really strive to make sure that I meal plan and that I also prep after I plan, so that I can make sure that my week is executed in the way that I need it to be, that I have healthy foods on hand, I know what I'm going to be having, and it just really makes it easy to stay focused and to maintain my mindset as far as what my goals and reaching them, because I have that already squared away and ready for me to take to work, or know what I'm having for dinner. Just knowing what I'm going to be having makes it so much easier and takes a lot of stress off. And my last video that I put out talks about how I actually go through my meal planning. I'll add a link so that you can check that out. I'll put it in the description box and here in the video. But yeah, that is one of the biggest things that I have done. It's not always easy, but it's definitely worth it because it really helps you stay focused. Tip number 4 would be that I avoid oils for the most part. The reason being is that I'm really trying to stick to a whole food plant-based diet, and oil is not technically a whole food because it's derived from like olives or grapeseed or wherever you may be getting your oil. It's not a whole food. It's fractionated from the food that it was a part of. And I've been trying to get my fats that I eat in my diet in the whole form. And I also do not add like a lot of extra fats into my diet. I do a pretty low fat diet. Oils are about 4,000 calories per pound as compared to something like vegetables that are about 100 calories per pound. And yes, I know like someone in their right mind's not going to sit down and eat a pound of oil, but it really puts into perspective how much more calorically dense oil is compared to a lot of the other foods, and it doesn't have to be that way because you can still get good fats into your diet without having to have the oils. And if you want to use oils, that's totally your business. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't use oils. I'm just saying this is what's personally worked for me. And I really, really, really think that it makes a huge difference because it takes so many calories out of what you would be eating. And it's not really that satiating. Oil takes up like such a tiny amount of space in your stomach that you don't really even notice that it's there. And it's not what actually keeps you full, because you really need the volume of your food to help keep you full more so than what they say that you're satiated by oil. Because now that I have eaten a lot less oil in my diet, I can tell that that's not what keeps me full. So that may be different for you. I guess everybody's different, but for me, it truly, truly helps. So that may be something that you want to look into. There's a lot of the plant-based doctors out there that advocate for a no oil diet. Now, with that being said, I'm not like 100% stickler. So like if I want to go out and have something at a restaurant and I know it's probably going to have some oil in it, but it's plant-based, then I will relax and just enjoy it because life is short. Whether you want to do that or not, that's going to be your call. But for me, I really like to enjoy my friends and family, and I honestly do not go out to eat very often, especially with my husband's sodium restrictions. It makes it super, super hard for us to go out to eat anywhere. So we usually eat at home, but whenever we do try to relax a little bit and not worry about the oils and things in our diet. Anyway, that is tip number 4, and it really has helped a whole lot. Tip number 3 is the plate method, and the plate method is just using your plate to visually portion out your food in specific ways. And the particular plate method that I like to use is the 50-50 plate, and that is something that Dr. McDougall talks about in his book, The Starch Solution. And if you haven't read that, I would highly recommend reading it. It's excellent. It's got a lot of science behind it and why things work the way they work with a plant-based diet. And it is where I got my start as far as how I was going to be eating a whole food plant-based diet. But basically, the 50-50 plate is where you take your plate and you visually fill your plate with half of your plate being non-starchy vegetables like salad or broccoli or any number of non-starchy vegetables, and the other side will be filled with a starchy plant-based food like potatoes or rice or some kind of starch-rich squash like butternut squash and different things like that, that's going to keep you fuller and satiated. That's where I get my fullness from. Whenever you eat your plate, you want to eat your non-starchy vegetable first, and that helps to fill your stomach up with volume of food that is very low in calories compared to what you're fixing to eat next, which is the starches. And then whenever you go back to fix your plate again, you want to refill your plate using the same method, and again eat your non-starchy vegetables first. And you may find that you're not able to eat the second portion of starch, which means that you have just basically diluted the calories. And that brings me to tip number 2, which is calorie density. The reason why calorie density works is because you're able to eat about the same amount of food that you would want to eat in order to be able to get full and to fill your tummy up without taking in as many calories. And the example that I just gave about using the plate method really highlights that, because you have half of it filled with very low calorie food and the other half filled with a higher calorie food. And something else that I like to do with calorie density is to use like a low fat soup and eat that before you have your actual meal. And you can even do that with a salad or both. And that way you're actually really diluting the calories, because you're not going to be able to eat as much. You are definitely filling up your stomach. And I have a video that I'll link here that really goes into depth, and I actually show you using a mason jar like the differences between calorie density and how your stomach is actually being filled up by using different real-time examples. So if you're interested in that, check it out. It was a really good video. One of my really early videos that I did on this channel. And it really explains how calorie density works. Tip number 1, and I have to say that this has been the biggest change, or this has been the biggest push towards me making changes for the better, for my health, for my weight, and to actually getting me to do what I need to do. And that is changing my mindset. And what I mean by that is, we all have a story that we tell ourselves whether we realize it or not. A story that has been written by things that have happened to us and things that we believe about ourselves, and story that we've allowed others to put on us, like they may have put labels on us or whatever, and you may or may not realize it, but it's on repeat in your head. And whenever some of these things that I'm talking about are like, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve it, I'll never get there, I can't do this, whatever the reason may be, or whatever the things you may be telling yourself, or whatever your story is, you can change that, and you do deserve it. We all deserve to live the best and happiest, fullest life that we can. So if you believe those things about yourself, you have to somehow interrupt that thought. You have to be able to pay attention to what's going on in your mind, and you have to say, you have to tell yourself to stop thinking that, or I'm not going to think about that. Or you can use the Mel Robbins 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm not thinking about that, which I do a lot. She's got a lot of wonderful information about how to interrupt that thought pattern and change it. And she's got a ton of information showing you the science behind why it works and how it works. And then something else that she does that I really, really like is she tells you to visualize what you want, but not to just visualize like what you want in the end point. Yes, that's good. Like go ahead and create that vision board, get that, dream body, that dream car, that dream house, whatever it is that is, whatever you're wanting to do in life. To visualize it, but you also have to visualize all of the hard things in between where you're at and where you want to be. Like if you're going to be losing weight, you want to visualize that time that you mess up and what are you going to do in order to get back on track. Like if you've already visualized, making a mistake, how you're going to fix it, then it's going to be a whole lot easier whenever it actually happens to go ahead and walk through those steps, because you're retraining your brain. And like I said, she talks about all the science in that. I have actually read the book, The High Five Habit. It is so worth the money, worth your time. Like I really, really, really got a lot out of it. I use it 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown to just like go ahead and do something, go ahead and interrupt that thought, changing my mindset. And it definitely works, and it definitely takes work. I mean, the how is fairly easy, but putting it into practice is a bit harder. You have to be aware of it. As soon as you hear one of those thoughts or something that you don't want to think about or you want to change, you can't really stop the thoughts that are coming into your mind, but you can't stop the thoughts from coming into your mind, but you can stop the thought once you realize that's what's going on. So I try to be super aware of it. And I mean, you might be saying 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 like every time you turn around, especially in the beginning, and that's okay, because you've got to start somewhere, especially if you've been someone that has really beat themselves up over any significant amount of time. And for me, I didn't realize it was going on for the longest time. I didn't realize, I guess I would say things to myself in my head, but I didn't realize how often that was happening. And it is just so easy because it's like a program in your mind that, just like I said, it plays on repeat over and over and over. The things that you think about yourself, or the things that you say to yourself, becomes your beliefs, and your beliefs become your actions, and your actions become your life. So starting with what we tell ourselves is so, so important, because it literally plays out like a movie screen. except it is your real life. And so if you are unhappy with where you're at, start by changing your mind. And that has honestly been the biggest tip that I can give anyone is, and do it from a place of love. Just love yourself and know that you're worth it. That you are worth achieving whatever dreams you have. They're meant for you, and you can totally do this. So I'm going to leave some links below, some of my favorite talks from Mel Robbins. I'm going to leave a link for her book, The High Five Habit, because it's life-changing. It's just as life-changing as the Starch Solution has been. I mean, to be able to lose 80 pounds, I'm back to that starting point now after having baby number 2, and I'm ready to get to my happy weight. I'm going to call it my happy weight because I want to do it out of a place of self-love, and I want to do it, for me, and to be happy with how I feel going forth. So I hope this video is helpful to someone out there, and I have a lot of big goals coming up for this channel. I'm going to try to be a whole lot more consistent. That's going to be my word, consistency. And that means consistency in my personal life and consistency for this channel. I want to upload more often, and I want to keep this conversation going with my audience because y'all are awesome. And thank you for being here with me. Let's kick this 2022 off and get it started. And as always, thanks so much for watching.